Hey, how's it going? We're live with a different setup, and so right off the bat, I should say, if you notice that I've like paused and I'm staring over this way, it's because I'm double checking the stats from my computer as far as how the stream's going. I'm gonna try to not let that distract me, but I think that everything is set up here. Let me, by way of introduction here, give you a quick sort of rundown on the changes that have been made. So I'm streaming differently now. The stream on Twitch is still there and it's the same, so if you're tuning in there, thanks, hello. But I've also been streaming to YouTube for a while now, and I've changed the settings going to YouTube. So it's a much higher quality, it's a 1440p max resolution and a much better bitrate and 60 FPS instead of 30. So everything should look a little bit nicer, especially if you're on like a big screen or a TV or something like that. If you're watching on this on a TV, I mean, props to you, I guess. That's cool, thanks. So yeah, those are changes that have been made. If you notice anything that looks weird or sounds wrong or whatever, I've adjusted all of the video and audio settings as well in my testing to set this up for YouTube. So let me know either in the comments or in the chat, and I'll double check those things. Of course, I'll probably watch back part of this stream, being the first one with these settings, after it's done, so that I can go back and make any changes needed. But we're not here for that. We're here to build, right? So let's get started with what I'm going to work on for today. Since the last time that we streamed, I've done a few things, but mostly it's been painting. So last time, if you remember, we just primed a bunch of parts, and now I've put base coats on most of those. So let's take a look at some of these. Actually, I was going to put them here on the desk so you could see what it looks like, but I'm just going to start taking them off of the alligator clips. And before I do that, I'm going to grab, so I keep these hand wipes over by my 3D printer, my resin printer, because if I accidentally spill a little bit of liquid resin on my hands, I want to wipe it off right away. But today I've moved them over here to my desk because I want to keep my hands nice and clean while handling these painted parts, so that I don't end up with fingerprints and oils and things like that on them. So here we go. So this batch of parts here is, let me get you a better view, is the SMS aluminum, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this was aluminum. Came out really good. Nice and shiny. The lights are catching that nicely. Yeah, all the detail in these parts is really picked out by this color of paint, so that's great. As I pull these off, I'm going to sort of just give them a quick double check to make sure that they got good coverage and that I don't see any issues. Normally I notice issues while I'm painting, and I kind of remember in my mind, this part might have a problem, we might have to go back and look at it later, and I don't think with any of these aluminum ones there were any issues at all. So that is good. While I'm going through and pulling these things off of the clips, I'll also mention, since we're talking about kind of stream, meta level kind of stuff. If you're new, and if you didn't know, down there at the bottom, get my angle right, there we go, down there at the bottom of the screen, you might wonder what those pictures are that are always cycling down there. I run a website called Gunpla Gallery, so you can get there at gunplagallery.com, and it's a free website. It's my gift to the Gunpla Builder community, and you can sign up there for free and post photo galleries of your builds. And so what I do here on the stream is I highlight, these are all recently posted trending builds, so things that are getting a lot of views and likes on the website end up showing up down there at the bottom of the stream. So if you're if you're a builder and you want to go post something there, good chance it'll show up down here on my stream at some point. So check that out. I haven't updated the site in a while. It's been out for a couple years at this point. I should probably give it a bit of a refresh. I've got some ideas for features in mind that I've just not had time to implement yet. But it's still really solid. I think it's pretty easy to use. You sign up, it's pretty straightforward how to upload your photos and post your build. You can put text and other information there as well. So yeah, go give that a look if you're interested. All of these parts are looking great so far. They really do look very shiny under the lights here with the camera setup that I've got on my desk, which is nice, I guess. So these parts are, so far, all the ones that I've painted are just for the backpack and weapons. The actual mobile suit itself, I have those parts disassembled and sitting in a plastic container over here to my left. But I just didn't have enough skewers and alligator clips to hold all of those parts. In fact, these aren't the ones we're going to look at today that are painted, are not even, that's really nice, this little blade weapon that came out super good. These are not even all of the parts for the backpack and weapons. They are, I think, all but 2 of the colors. Those 2 colors actually comprise a large majority of the pieces, though. So this kit had a lot more parts for its backpack and accessories than it did for the actual mobile suit itself. Mostly because it came with that pre-built inner frame, so those don't really count as parts. Although, when it comes time to paint, we are going to paint some of that inner frame because parts of it are plastic. So my plan there is to mask off the metallic parts and then paint the plastic ones. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be an interesting thing. All right, so these right here are all of the aluminum ones. And what I'm going to do is somewhere over here, I think, I have the box where I've been keeping the parts. Let me get you a wider angle view of this, right? So this is just how I keep these things, and while I'm waiting to clean them and get them ready for paint, and then after painting, I'm likely to just drop them all back. So I'll just, in one of these segments here, drop these in here. Those all came out looking really good. So we have no issues or cleanup or anything to do with any of these aluminum ones, which is great news. This big one is very cool. I like this a lot. And while I'm holding this, I'll show you the this segment of parts, this big group right here, is the light bronze parts for the... No, these are the white ones. So these are the ones that are going to be pearl white for the backpack and weapons. And then this smaller batch right here are the ones that need to be light bronze. Those are the 2 colors we have not yet painted, because as I was going through, so all these parts are sanded and ready for paint. I was washing them and putting them onto the skewers, and I ran out of skewers. So yeah, that's when I decided, you know what, I'll stop and we'll just paint what I've done so far. So this next batch of parts, I was looking at them earlier. This was an interesting sort of experiment, I guess, that has kind of worked, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see on the camera well enough or not, but what this paint is a E7 fluorescent blue. It was really thin, and I thinned it more like I usually do for airbrushing, and I probably over thinned it a little bit. But what I what I had planned to do with this paint is to almost treat it like a candy coat. So I have a silver undercoat underneath this blue, and then I put it on with very light layers. And because the paint is so thin and so runny, it tended to kind of pool up on edges. So with the bright lighting, you can't see it quite so much. In person, I can see here more. At the edges of these bits, it's a bit darker, and then it gets lighter in the middle of large flat areas because of the way that the paint dried. So my plan, and we might actually do this first thing this morning before doing anything else, is to give these things one more coat of this fluorescent blue. That's what I think I'm gonna do for right now, and try to even this out just a little bit. But before we do that, I noticed on one of these parts, I think it's one of these two little bits here, there's an imperfection. Yeah, it's right here. So let me pull this off. Somehow I either got a speck of dust, or let's see if we can zoom in and see it. It is right here along this top edge. Yeah, I can catch it with light. You can probably see it. Think that maybe part of the silver, or when I was spraying the silver surfacer undercoat underneath, maybe I got a dried blob of paint that flew off, is my guess. Anyway, I did not notice that at first, and I painted over it, so I'm going to very gently try to sand this back and see if it's fixable without repainting the whole part, which seems unlikely. We'll see what we get though. Alright, so that takes care of that. Let's see if I did I sand all the way down to the silver base coat, or did I sand below that? I think I sanded past it. Yeah, and I'm seeing some of the original blue plastic down there. So I may need to just reprime this part and start over. It's still not perfectly smooth. There we go. But you know what? Since I'm painting this blue top coat right now... Hey, thanks for the follow. Yeah, so since we're gonna paint these other parts with the blue one more coat, I'm just gonna try painting over here and see if I can make this work. It might be slightly noticeable, but I don't think it'll be too bad. So let's try that along with these guys when we paint them. I'm not sure if this will stick again or if I'm gonna have to get another piece of tape. So this is my trick when I'm painting parts that don't have anything obvious to clip onto. Actually, the first trick is to use a skewer with just a point on it and see if there's some area where you can, you know, sort of jab this point up into a peg hole or some other space in the part to get it to stay. And then when that doesn't work, what I do is I get double-sided tape, which is what this is right here, and I wrap double-sided tape around one of my alligator clips, and then I just stick a flat surface that doesn't need to be painted on the part down to the tape. As long as it sticks fairly well, we won't have any issues. The problem is the airbrush blows air at a fairly high rate, right? So you don't want to blow the part right off of the thing, and it seems like they're both going to come off. So let's replace the piece of tape. Somewhere over here I have tape. There we go. Super happy with this little, it's like a file cabinet on wheels that I got from IKEA, that I keep here in the studio. And I've got, in all the drawers, I've got my most used supplies. And then because the thing's on wheels, I roll it around. So like between here, my build desk, and the airbrush station and stuff, I just roll it to where I need it. I use the top of it as basically a like a rolling cart to keep things on, like pieces and things. And then I always have the supplies right at hand when I need them. Things like tape and panel lining fluids and things like that. All right, so these are restuck, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the smoothness of that. So we'll go paint those momentarily, but let me show you the other metallics first. So here we have, these are not metallics. This is the other shade of blue. We've got some gold and some dark bronze, I believe. These are, again, SMS metallics, all of these. So this dark bronze came out looking really great, I think. It's going to look super dark on camera here, but hopefully we can catch a little bit of the shine in the lighting for you. Yeah, those kind of just disappear right away on my mat here, don't they? Here's a part of the weapon, so there you can get a little bit of the shine if I move it around just right. It's real dark. It's because it's a bronze. It's got like a brownish hue to it. And we'll look at gunmetal, which is one of the other colors I sprayed, in just a few minutes, and you'll see it's almost equally as dark, but it's a lot more on the cooler side of gray, so it's closer to like a bluish gray, whereas this is definitely a brownish tone. So we've got a lot of the vent details I did in this color for the weapons and backpack. Let me just check the stream health again real quick. Seems like we're good. Build them from zero. I'm not sure what you mean. This was a kit that I started a couple weeks ago. But yeah, it's built entirely, or will be when it's finished, built entirely by me, right? So I built it up, just snap built it. Those are on past streams if you go and find those. And then I disassembled it and decided on colors. Usually while I'm disassembling is when I decide on which parts I want to be what colors. And now we're working on painting the parts up, and then, you know, eventually we'll reassemble it into the final build. But at this rate, that's going to be a ways off because there are a lot of parts in this kit. If you haven't seen it, it's called the Judge. It's made by a company called Zero Gravity, so it's not an official Bandai Gunpla kit. But yeah, that's basically what it looks like out of the box. My version's not going to be this color scheme when we're finished with it. Yeah, on this dark metallic, I'm super happy with the shine. It was weird when I was painting, and it did not seem like it had this much of a shine. And it may be just because of the bright lighting that I have set up for streaming. It causes it to show up even more like this. But I think when I have this thing finally built and I go to photograph it, if I use a similar type of lighting where it's like, you know, dark with a bright light coming in from the side, this is going to look really good, all of these metallics. Alright, so those are all of our dark bronze parts. Let me put them away in the box so that they stay safe. Now these two long ones here, I don't think I have anywhere that they'll fit in this box without without sticking out, because there's only one really long section and it's already used or full of other parts. So I'm actually just going to set these off to the side because I don't want to accidentally hit that point on the top of those sharp parts and break it off. I actually poked myself in the hand while I was putting those on the skewers for painting, and that part is quite sharp. Yeah, no, I didn't create the parts from scratch. They're a kit. I do sometimes create 3D printed, 3D model and resin print add-on parts for some of my kits that I build. Or I modify a kit a bit and print a custom part. I haven't done that on this kit at all. So these are gold. This is an SMS metallic called Inca Gold, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is their Inca Gold. Ignore that little blemish there, that's not going to be visible, which is why I put the clip there. But it's kind of a orangish gold. There were some parts in this kit that came already coated with a gold paint. These two parts were actually that way. But I decided to paint over them because I wanted a kind of a darker, more vibrant gold. The gold they had used was a lighter shade. And so I'm pretty happy again with how this came out. When will I assemble? Well, today and tomorrow I hope to finish painting all of these parts. And so we should be able to assemble part of it, at least, on the stream on Friday. So Friday morning for me, 2 days from now, is my goal for assembling these parts. We'll see if I can manage it. It's going to require me painting the other parts that were still in that plastic bin that we just saw. There's 2 other colors that need to be painted. So yeah, next stream in 2 days, hopefully we will assemble some parts then. At least for this backpack unit, right? This was the, I don't know if there's a picture of it anywhere. It's this large backpack unit with the wing sections. That's what all of these parts are for that we're looking at right now. And I'm double checking these as I pull them off of the clips just to make sure that there aren't any mistakes that need to be fixed. So far they look good. These parts are very tiny. All 4 of these as well. I'm afraid of losing them. Yeah, so I've enjoyed this kit a lot. I think I usually build Bandai Master Grade kits almost entirely, like nothing else really. So I think this is my first third-party kit, and I was expecting it maybe quality-wise to be not so good or different, but it's been very good. Everything fits well. The quality of the mold on the parts is very good. Lots of good detail molded into these parts, especially the outer armor parts. We haven't seen any of those yet today. This one's cool. This came out really good. I like this one a lot. So yeah, overall I've been very impressed with the quality of this kit. All right, so these are all the gold parts. We got one more. One more. There's gold. Let me put these away. And try not to lose the very small parts. We'll put these here. Yeah, so these pieces here, and then all of these in this section here are the ones that still have to be painted. Hopefully before the next stream, and then we can assemble all of these parts on that stream. I was going to paint all of them at the same time, but I ran out of alligator clips and skewers because there were so many parts. All right, let me show you the last metallic color. It's back here. So this is gunmetal. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. So yeah, again, nice shine on this one. It's another dark metallic, but this one's a more grayish versus the other one that had a brownish kind of tone to it. So the majority of the big parts for the inner frame of the backpack are in this gunmetal color. And there those all are. And then a few other bits that go on the weapon. I think these go on the sides of the weapons. That's a different shape. Those are also for the weapons. There's a fourth one. Yeah, there's that one. And I think there are 4 like this as well. When I'm sorting and painting the parts, I always try to keep the ones that are similar, like next to each other. Like I like to lay these 4 here and these 4 here, because it just makes me feel better that I haven't lost anything. I'm always afraid I'm going to lose a part somewhere along the line. And so if I'm always keeping track that, like, I know there's 4 of these rounded ones here, and I see them all 4 together, I know that they're all still here. All right, so those are all of the gunmetal parts. I need more table space. It's getting crowded in here. All right, let's put these, well, these very big ones, again, I'm not gonna fit into this bin, so I'm just gonna set them off to the side, and then all the rest of them we'll put in here. These are also not going to fit in there, and probably these as well. All right. And then the last color that I already painted and is ready are these blue So these are parts that are going to be part of the outer armor of the kit. The paint scheme is mostly a pearl white, and I haven't painted any of those pearl white parts yet, so we can't see them right now. But these bright blue are going to be an accent color on top of the pearl white. Actually, I have somewhere here on a sample spoon, right? So here, this is the white. And that'll go with that. I think it'll look really good. I guess we'll see once it's finished. And this blue color is slightly different. I don't think on camera it shows up as being too much different, but like if I bring this other blue in, yeah, it doesn't really look like on camera that it's that much different. This is a lighter shade, this other blue that we were looking at earlier. It's a little bit lighter, and it's also just a bit kind of greenish. It's a bit more of like a teal blue. But the two of them came out a little bit closer to one another than I would like. And so the plan that I came up with yesterday, and I believe I will follow through with, is that lighter blue, I'm gonna dry brush those parts with a silver enamel paint very lightly, just to add a little texture and shine and hit the edges of them just a little bit, and also should lighten them up just a little bit more so that they're a bit different from this blue. At least that is the plan. As always, I reserve the right to change the plan at any minute. So those are our blue parts. Again, not a lot of them, because they're mostly just meant to be accent parts, not the main color of the mobile suit itself. All right, and with that, these are all the parts I've painted so far. With the exception of that other blue color, which I'm gonna go and put a second coat on those right now before I forget. So let me fire up the spray booth over there, and I'll switch to that camera. Yeah, so I'm gonna jump over there and spray one more coat. As soon as I get organized here, let me move these out of the way. Yeah, so we'll go spray one more coat of that light blue over here at the spray booth. All right. So I think that went well. That's going to solve the problem that I had of some uneven finish on a few of those parts. And what's my glove on? This one's all covered in paint anyway. Let's throw it away. All right. So yeah, and the one part that had the little problem that we sanded, I'm pretty sure that if I put one more coat of the blue paint over what was left there, it will hide that problem perfectly. So I'm not gonna have to sand that all the way down and start over with that part, which is good. All right, so what's next? Let's see. I have all of these parts. Have they been washed? And it looks like they have not been washed. They've been sanded, but not washed. Okay. So I'll have to wash those, and I'm not going to do that on stream because I have no water here in my studio. So instead, we will look at some of these parts, which are the ones for the mobile suit itself. And a bunch of these I've already sanded and prepared. So let's start over here. I think I've done these as well. Yeah, looks like I have. So these are all of the outer armor parts that are going to be painted in pearl white for the mobile suit itself. I'm going to get them out and just go through and start sanding them. I think there's a few nubs that need to be sanded. Get them all? Yeah. Do something real quick here. So we're good to go now. These things are taking up a lot of space, so I'm going to put them back where they go. So I tend to just use these kind of little wire storage bins a lot, and I just use them for keeping everything from these types of skewers and stuff to sanding sticks to all of my supplies. All right. So here's what I've been doing with this kit as far as sanding goes. I have these little hard surface acrylic sticks that I use to get the nubs sanded down nice and flush. And then I've been giving every part a quick once over with the 600 and then 1000 grit and then 2500 grit on those sponges, just to produce a nice smooth finish. This is unfortunate. I think I gouged the edge of this piece a little bit with my part separator when I was taking it apart. this edge right here is not perfect. Let's see if we can make it perfect. So I have not checked the health of the stream on YouTube in the last half hour or so, but it says it's good, so that's cool. But I think this new plan of streaming at a higher quality to YouTube is going to work perfectly, which is great. At least it's working perfectly today so far. So yeah, if you're watching on Twitch and you want to see a higher quality version of the video, well, and audio actually, but video I think is more important for this type of thing, then find me over on YouTube and watch the live stream there. It should look a little bit better, especially if you're on a big screen. If you're just on like a phone or something, you might not notice a difference. In fact, you probably won't notice a difference. I have nowhere to put these. There, I'll put them back in the tray where I got them from. I should flip these over. So those are the two shades of blue painted on my sample spoons. So that right there, those four colors up in the upper left of your screen are the color scheme for the outer armor for this kit. So all of the internals are going to be those metallics we looked at earlier. And then the outer armor is going to be mostly that pearl white with some gold and then two different shades of blue accents. I think it's going to look excellent. One thing to remember if you're sanding with these types of sponges, a side effect of them is that they knock off the very sharp corners. So if you're after if your end result that you're trying to achieve is a very sharp angular look, which this kit has, to be fair, in like a lot of its molded details are super angular. What I'm doing here is going to knock those edges off just a little bit and make it slightly less sharp, which is actually a look I'm going for on purpose, but it's just something to keep in mind. If you would like your end result to be super sharp, it's best to use these type of sandpaper on a hard acrylic piece of backing, and the more you use sponge type things like this, the more you're going to round out your edges just a little bit. when I'm looking at a part and working on getting it perfectly sanded like this, sometimes I also think about whether the visible nub mark that's left is going to actually be visible or not. Like here it's on the back edge of this thing, which snaps inside of something else, and so I realized that it's not going to be visible on the final kit, and so I did sand it just a little bit back just to make sure that the fit is perfect, but I don't need to make it perfect because it's not going to be seen. So that's going to be the case for all of the parts that look like that, of which I think there are several. Here's another one. If you've watched this far, thanks. It's, I think it's been a slightly, I mean, it's probably bad to say this, right? But it's been a kind of boring stream compared to how they usually are. Other than, like, I guess at the beginning when we got to see those painted parts, which was cool. The rest of it today seems like it's just going to be some sanding and prepping of parts, but it's part of the process and it's what has to be done, right? So I will do it, and I will take my time and be careful with each individual piece, because the end result will be better if I do that, right? I find with this hobby, as soon as I start to rush or try to cut corners, then I end up with a result that I'm not happy with, and that makes me sad later on. So I'd rather take the time now and make sure that everything is great. This piece has a little bit of some sort of a blemish here on it. Interesting. Let's see if I can get in here and fix that. I hear talking. I think it's someone outside. My studio is in my garage, and so the soundproofing from outdoors is not that great. So if somebody walks by, a lot of people around my neighborhood walk their dogs while talking on the phone or something. So somebody will be walking by and they'll be talking loudly on their phone, and I can hear them in here. That looks good. Probably there was a third gate somewhere. Oh, it was down here where it's not going to be visible. Okay. Some of these parts that are dark blue plastic, or became dark blue with the kit, that I'm changing to white are like the main torso of the mobile suit. So in sort of standard Gundam color scheme style, this guy had mostly white armor for its arms and legs, and then its torso and chest were this dark blue. And changing the whole thing to be white. So it'll be an interesting look, I think. Hopefully it comes out the way I have pictured in my mind and not somehow worse. I think it'll be good. Yeah, so what I do after I finish sanding all of these parts is I wash them. And typically the way I do that is I have a small ultrasonic cleaner. So I put them in that. It's like the whole pile of parts, like what we see here on the desk, would just all go in there with water and usually a drop or two of just dish soap. Which is probably unnecessary unless you're dealing with like resin parts or something like that. But here, I'm just trying to get my finger oils off of the parts from having handled them a lot here while I'm working with them. And then also, of course, get the sanding dust completely off of them. And then when they come out of the ultrasonic cleaner, I dry them off with a towel to get as much of the water off as possible, but I don't try to dry them perfectly, and I immediately put them on to the alligator clips and put them in the little holder that I use for the alligator clips, so that way they can finish drying there and I'm not touching them anymore with my fingers until I have them primed and painted. I do have, I think at least, that I have quite oily fingers in comparison to other people. At least it seems like my fingers are quite oily, so I'm super careful about handling the parts and having that impact the paint finish. So sometimes I'll work with gloves on, but if I do that process that I just described, where I wash the parts and immediately put them on the skewers for painting, and then I don't touch them again, then I don't have to worry about wearing gloves. And then when I take them off the skewers, if I'm just careful, like with a wipe like this, and make sure that my hands are nice and clean, then I haven't had any issues with my finger oils messing up the paint. These parts, the one that I'm holding right now, in the original version of this kit, or in the in the parts that came in the box, there were actually two different colored runners. This part I remember came off the A runner, and that A runner came in the white part, the white colors, and the blue, and you could actually choose as you were building which one of those you wanted to use. For whatever reason, when we were snap building, I chose these, which go on the sides of the knees, to be the dark blue. Had I chosen the white parts, and I guess I still could go back and find them, I have a pile of extra parts that were left over. This would be white, and maybe painting it would be a little better or a little easier, but I'm going to put a good coat of primer on here anyway, so I'm not too concerned about the fact that this one's starting out dark blue when it could be white instead. It'll come out the same. Need to also be careful to watch the time today. I normally stream until noon my time, which is, what, about like 45 minutes from now? sometimes in the past we've gone over. I don't think we're in danger of doing that today because I'm not doing anything super interesting that is going to make me want to hang on and stream for longer. However, today I do have a lunch meeting that I have to get to, so I have to finish promptly at the stopping time so that I can drive to the place where I'm supposed to meet some friends for lunch. So I need to remind myself to watch the clock and not let time pass. I was amazed in the last stream on Monday, where all I ended up doing was painting primer on all of those parts that we pulled off of the skewers today. I was surprised at how long that took. I was fully expecting to prime all those parts and have time left over to do something else. And instead, once I was done priming those, it was like beyond time to stop the stream. So I completely underestimated the amount of time it was going to take to put primer on that number of parts. It was a lot of parts, to be fair, but I figured it would have gone quicker than that. Actually, I think all of these steps in building and detailing and painting a model, at least for me, like this sanding step, the priming step, painting base coats, all of those things are like super relaxing. Like once I get in the zone doing something like that, I can sit for a long time and do it and not realize how quickly time is passing. Time for the periodic check of the health of the YouTube stream. Still healthy. Nice. Wow, past me did a really bad job trimming that nub. That's fine, we'll sand it down. Yeah, there we go. So I noticed on these parts, which go on they're like the ankle armor, there's a bit here on the back side, like the inside of the piece, that is, it looks like molded, like inner frame type detail. And part of me wants to go back and paint that with one of the inner frame metallics, which would be better to spray first, and then I could mask that out because it's slightly indented before I paint the rest. I don't think I'll do that because I'm also trying not to spend forever on this build. I told myself I wasn't going to do a lot of extra, like I didn't do any scribing of custom panel lines. I'm not planning to do a ton of like masking and that sort of work either, just in the interest of finishing this one a little bit quicker than some of my other builds. So, but now that I've noticed that, it's going to bug me. So we'll see. I'll definitely just paint the white base color on here first, and then maybe if I decide I really care about that, I might either hand brush some metallic in there or carefully mask it out and paint it. We'll see. What's going on there? Kind of a little blemish in the mold there. That fixed it. So this tool here, these are aluminum sanding stick holders that I picked up a while back. I don't remember who makes them. Oh, it says Infini. They're the people that make like these sponge sanding sticks as well. They're super narrow. So this one's 3 millimeters wide at the rectangular sort of business end over here. And you can cut super thin strips of sandpaper, like the adhesive back sandpaper, and stick them on there. They come in super handy sometimes when you've got a very narrow area like this. This is raised on both sides, so I couldn't get in there with one of these wider sticks. So I always keep one of those sitting around, and in fact that one, the sandpaper on it is getting a little worn. I probably need to replace it with a new piece very soon. It should last for like maybe the rest of this build, because I don't have a lot of parts left to work on. But I should probably replace it before the next project, whatever that turns out to be. I'm thinking the Gundam Virtue maybe for the next project. It's sitting back there on the shelf behind me under the Gunpla Gallery logo, right in the middle there of that bottom shelf. And I have my customized Dynamis and Curios all finished and on display in my house on my main display shelf. And I've had that Virtue snapped for a long time, but I've never disassembled it and detailed and painted it. So I should probably do that so that it can sit with its friends in the final display case. After that, Bandai needs to make a 2.0 Exia for me. I have the original Master Grade Exia, but I'm not happy with it. It's not great. I really want one based on the new inner frame that they made for Dynamis and Curios. That didn't clean up well at all. Let's try again. That's better. This edge here is quite messed up. I think I maybe over-trimmed the nub just a tiny bit with the nippers earlier. And it's not perfectly straight. It had a little sort of indentation in it. I'm just gonna sand it back just the slightest bit and put a little bit of an angle on it here. Like an angle this way. Hard to describe. Like this. At about a 45. Just to fix that imperfection and make it look like it was on purpose. Alright, that looks good. Cool. Oh, this piece goes in the middle of the chest. I'm sitting here looking at it. It looks like a tiny foot, which would be way too small compared to the scale of this kit. It's definitely not the foot. It goes in the front of the chest. Like the cockpit hatch cover, basically. This kit does not have like an opening cockpit with a pilot figure inside. You were wondering. There is a little bit of articulated movement in the area where a cockpit hatch would be, but there's no, that sort of detail is not built into the mold for this kit. Part of me wants to sand this piece back a little bit here in the area where it connects, because I remember this is the this piece kind of fills in the back of the back skirt, or the back of the waist in between where the back skirt attaches. This fills in a gap where you can pull it out, and then the action base attaches in there to hold the kit up. And once I had it snap built, this was very hard to take out if you wanted to put it up on the action base. And so when I do the final build, I might not even put this piece in at all, because I do know that I want the final display to be on its action base. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand that back just a little bit, because we're about to add another layer of paint on top as well, and then that'll make it just ever so slightly easier, I think, to pull this piece out if I decide to include it. Okay, hopefully the microphone wasn't picking up the terrible screeching sound that this is making. Whenever you sand a very narrow bit of plastic like this over a narrow edge, it makes a sound that's kind of like fingernails on a chalkboard, if you remember that sound or have ever heard it. I'm old enough to have had chalkboards at my school when I was a kid, so I know all about that sound. It's not a pleasant sound. I think that the microphone is set such that it wasn't picking that up. That part tried to escape. Jumped right out of my hands. That's a nice looking piece. One thing I've noticed with a lot of these outer armor bits on this kit is that they have a lot of molded detail. Let's see if I can find an example. Yeah, so like this one here, lots of angles. We'll get in even closer. So lots of angles, really interesting looking piece. You know, same thing with this one. Cool angles and sort of indentations, but none of them are really panel lines, right? So this little wing bit here has an actual real panel line that you could, if you wanted to, you know, put panel line fluid in to it, that would work. But a lot of the parts are more like this style, where there's lots of cool angles, but no opportunities to actually panel line it. So we'll see once we get it either partially or completely assembled, at least in sections. I'll decide whether I actually want to line any of those panel lines or not. I may instead do like a little bit of dry brushing with silver or something like that over the top even of these outer pearl white parts, and pick out the edges a bit instead of, or maybe in addition to, a little bit of panel lining. I think that'll work better with the style of the mold of this kit versus my normal style of having very dark. Usually I use black panel line, like the Amiya brand enamel panel line fluid. Probably won't use that here for sure. If I do anything, it'll be gray or dark gray, not black. Just because I don't want to detract from the nice pearl finish on the white parts too much. Of course, we haven't seen the nice pearl finish on any of the white parts yet, so. But I'm imagining what they'll look like. Alright, thinking ahead as I look at the pile of parts that's right here on the desk. Still waiting to be sanded. And I'm thinking that the plan for today is going to be to finish that pile of parts, which is not going to take that much longer. There's what, like 7 or 8 of them there? Maybe I can't count, and it's actually more than that. Slightly more than 7 or 8. And anyway, plan is finish those, and then that'll be the end of today's stream, I think, because that'll give me time to go get ready for my lunch appointment. And then I think that I should have time between now and Friday's stream to wash and prime and paint those other 2 colors of parts that we had in the bin that we looked at earlier. So those will be the pearl white and the, I think, light bronze parts for the weapons and backpack unit. And assuming that I can get that done, which I think, like I said, I should have time to do, either later today and or tomorrow, then on Friday's stream we can work on assembling the backpack unit, kind of see how all the colors are coming together. Unless I may decide that I want to do some dry brushing on some of those metallic parts just to pick out the edges and make them look even better. Again, this is me, right, adding more steps into the process. I said this was going to be a quick paint job and build. We'll see if that actually happens or not. So yeah, maybe we'll do assembly on Friday. I know I said earlier that was going to be the goal, and I think it still is. But I guess there's a chance that I might want to do some dry brushing instead, and I might not have time to do it between now and then. We'll see. I really need to see the light bronze. That's the color. The light bronze parts that haven't been painted yet for the inner frame. I need to see those next to the dark bronze to decide what I want to do and whether I want to do any more processing on those parts to make them different than they turn out. Hey, why does this part have no nub marks? Oh, there's one. There should be one more somewhere. Yeah, that sanding stick will never work if you use the flat metal side of it against the part. Oh no, there's a little problem right here. Alright, we're gonna fix that for sure, because this little edge of a wing needs to be perfect if we can make it that way. That seems right. Alright, that wasn't as bad as I thought. I wonder if the other one was like that, because I didn't notice when I sanded it that it had an issue there. I should go find it. Nope, that's not it. There it is. That was hard to find. Oh, I see. It's not. This is the opposite. These go together, but this one didn't have that part. That makes more sense now to me. Because I thought I had seen this same part already. It wasn't. It was just a slightly different version of this part. And so it would not have had that problem. But when I find the one for the other side, because these are side skirt parts, I will have to remember. I think it's still back there in the other bin that we haven't gotten those parts out yet. I'll have to remember to look for that little problem there and fix it on that part as well. This is an undergate in an unfortunate location. It's like kind of tricky to clean because it's so close to this attachment point right here. One thing I noticed with this kit is they, I think, did a mostly good job of undergating a lot of the parts in smart ways. But there were a few spots where I would have rather just had a regular gate instead of an undergate. I think it would have made it easier to clean the part. I realize if you're just snap building a kit and not painting it at all, then you might have a different opinion about whether you like undergates in certain locations or not. For me, like, I don't mind just sanding them down. So sometimes undergates are more of a hassle than just a regular gate would be. Here's another example of one of those parts that I was talking about earlier where there's a lot of detail here, but let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. There's a lot of detail here, but there aren't really any panel lines per se. It's just all ridges and edges and angles and such. So, and that was part of the motivation for going with that pearl finish on the main outer armor bits, is because I think that that will catch the light nicely when you look at the finished kit on all of these different angles and stuff. It'll kind of accentuate those lines and edges without having to do a lot of other like dry brushing or post-processing of any kind on the parts. Again, we'll have to see them once a few of these parts are painted up with that color. I can take a look and see if it's achieving the effect that I have in mind. And then make adjustments if it's not. But I think it'll be good. Another programming note for the YouTube channel. This build has unfortunately distracted me a bit from other projects because I've been enjoying it a lot, and so I want to finish it up, but also it's taking a lot of time. So my YouTube series on 3D modeling with Blender for Gunpla parts, I was planning on filming and editing the next episode of that this week. Obviously this week is already like half over almost, given that it's already Wednesday. And I just a little while ago told you that I was going to work on painting and prepping parts for Friday's stream in my free time. And so it's not likely that that episode of Blender Gunpla is going to come out this week. just because I don't have time to do both. But it will come out sometime soon, I hope. I already have kind of the concept and the script and the approach written up. We're going to talk about designing custom sort of raised panel details. I have a high-grade Zaku kit that I picked up that has, you know, just a plain version of a Zaku shield. So the shoulder mounted shield that they all have. And the plan is in the next couple of episodes of Blundered Gunpla, it'll probably take more than one episode. We're gonna concept and design out a couple of different pieces that we could glue onto the flat surfaces of that shield to give it some visual interest and maybe a little bit of a functional boost as well. And that's the only teaser that I'm going to give for now. I won't go into any more detail than that. But I do need to build up at least the shield part of that kit so that we have an example to look at as we work through those videos in that series. All right, so last part. Is now ready to go. Make sure I put it back in the right spot. Okay, it was cold in here in my studio when I started. Now it's actually, which is why I put on the little sweatshirt that I've got, but now it's actually warmed up quite a bit. So that's good, I guess. This pipe has dried out. So the other thing I use these hand wipes for is just cleaning up my desk mat here after sanding. And they work really well for that. I was actually surprised. At first I was concerned that like the sanding dust might somehow sink it or work its way down into because this is kind of a fabric type surface here. It's just a mouse pad basically. But the dust sits on top nicely and it cleans up just like that. All right, I think I'm done for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm most excited just about the parts that we saw, or first thing that were all painted and ready to go. Those metallics came out looking really good. This is my first time, I think, yeah, it's definitely my first time on a large scale project using SMS brand metallics. I'm super happy with them. They come in already pre-thinned in little glass bottles, so you probably don't get as much for your money as if you buy like a bottle of Gaia Notes metallic or something like that and then you thin it, right? Because then you end up with more volume of paint. Since those come pre-thinned and they're fairly small bottles and they're about the same price, you're probably getting less paint for your money, but they've been really good and I've been super happy with how smooth they sprayed on, and as they dried, they got even more shiny. And here under the studio lights on my build setup here, they looked really, really good. So I'm encouraged about how that's going to look in the final build. So that's it for me. I will see you again on Friday, 2 days from now, same time. And like I said, hopefully I will have managed to, over here in my bin that I have, managed to clean and paint those other 2 colors worth of parts so that we have some parts that we can actually start assembling together to make the backpack unit for this thing. And then the parts for the main mobile suit itself are the ones we were just sanding, and those will obviously require, I've got to do a bunch more sanding on the rest of those parts before we can get to painting those. So plan is backpack on Friday in the next stream. Maybe we can see it, at least parts of it assembled, maybe not the whole thing all the way together yet. We'll have to see how much extra detail painting or dry brushing I want to do on some of the parts. And that might dictate what we can do on Friday. But thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thanks.